Hello, hello, it is Mike. It is time for my midweek review, and today I'm going to be talking about the 1977 possessed car movie called The Car. The Car was directed by Elliot Silverstein, and it stars Mr. James Brolin, or Mr. Barbara Streisand. It stars a wonderful actress named Christine Lloyd, who should have done more after this movie. She did some, but um, not quite as prolific as James Brolin. He's still around and kicking. It also starred a pretty popular actor during this time. His name is Ronnie Cox. He played James Brolin's right hand man, Deputy Lucas, and actually, James Brolin's character was Wade, and Christine's name was Lauren, character name. And then we have Ken and Kyle Richards. You may know them from some of the Disney movies, The Escape from Space, from Witch Mountain, Space Mountain. Um, and you may know them also as one of the bitchy housewives of Beverly or or Sandy. I don't know where they're from, but yeah, that's how they kind of that's what they've kind of become. And it also is interesting in that it stars some future soap opera queen named Melody Thomas, who went on to be in The Young and the Restless for the last 210 years. We have some um, American Indian or Native American actors and actresses in this one. It is set in a little town in Utah. So it's surrounded by mountains. It's a beautiful place to film in. So yeah. So what is the plot of this movie? Well, basically, this mysterious black car shows up in this little town and starts terrorizing the citizens of this town. And it kind of just picks people off one by one. There's a hitchhiker the car for some reason decides that he doesn't like. So he takes that hitchhiker out. And then there's some people riding their bikes. There's a guy crossing the street to go to a bar. And then just, various people throughout the show. So basically, everybody thinks the car is being driven by somebody, but eventually they find out that it's not. So sort of like Christine in a way. Christine sometimes needs a driver, sometimes does. Christine didn't need a driver. This movie was well before Christine, so yeah, interesting plot. Is it believable? It's a possessed killer car. Not really believable, but who cares? So then we'll talk a little bit about the acting and the actors. I thought everybody did a really good job. Wade was very good in being the macho. That's James Brolin being the macho cop who doesn't believe that this car is anything but a crazy driver. Um, and then we have the Ronnie Cox character, who I think probably gave one of the better performances. He is a recovering alcoholic. He'd been uh, dry for several years. They were even celebrating the fact that he hadn't had a drink in so many years. But unfortunately, with all the craziness and the killings that were going on in his little town, he started to spin out of control. And he plays that very well. Not too over the top. Actually, he's a little bit subtle with it at times, but yeah, it was good. And Christine, the girl who played Lauren, I loved her. She was awesome. Um, Feisty and sassy, and she was, yeah, good character. Scare factor. This is not necessarily a movie that will will scare a lot of people. It is intense in more than one scene. The chase scene with the cops, and then the final chase scene between James Brolin and the car, it's pretty intense. Um, the There is no blood. You're not going to see a lot of blood, even though people get ran over by this car or ran off the road or whatever. you don't see a lot of the after effects. So you don't really see people getting squashed or anything. So not a lot of gore. So gore hounds, this probably will not wet that whistle for you. Um, but overall, it's creepy, and it's a fun little horror movie that's not going to weigh on you too heavy. So yeah, I like this movie. As far as like the sets and the scenery, the not the sets, but what am I thinking of? The atmosphere and everything of the movie. That is probably my favorite part. This car, anytime it shows up, first of all, it's a badass car. It's a big, beefy, black something, I'm not sure, and its windows are completely tinted, so you can't see anything inside of them. But every time it decides it's going to rampage on somebody, you get a lot of wind and a lot of dust and a lot of dirt. So this marching band is marching, and they all of a sudden there's all this wind and dust, and it's blowing their music off of their little clips that they have on their instruments. So they all run up the hill up into a burial ground, and lots of dust, and the car is loud and loud and roaring and charging, but it won't go in there. It won't go in that sacred ground. But yeah, very good. And there's a scene when Christine is let off at her house to pack some stuff up to go the to Wade's house to stay with his girls, and she's outside, and all of a sudden all this wind starts, and she knows what that is, so she runs into her house. But yeah, there's a lot of really good effects in this movie that makes it creepy. As far as the ending was good. It wasn't quite as goofy as, and you'll know what I'm talking about, that Children of the Corn, He Who Walks Behind the Row reveal towards the end of that movie. Similar, but not quite as goofy. But yeah, overall, I love this movie. So on a scale of 1 to 5, I would definitely give it a 4. Mainly because you don't get a whole lot of after effects of what the car has done. Sort of like you did in Christine. I mean, at least you got a couple burning bodies in that one. But yeah, good movie. I highly recommend it, and I hope you all are having a great week. Talk to you later. Bye.